About a month ago, on a plane flying to Tokyo, I watched a film with a name so convoluted it's likely to put most potential viewers off. Fireworks, should we see it from the side or the bottom, is an animated movie that's fun and touching enough to forgive it that title. Despite everything it had going against it, and the poor environment in which I watched it, I dwelled on the movie in the following weeks, trekking around Japan, and before I left I grabbed a copy of the newly released Blu-ray so I could check it out again upon returning home. It's no secret that I love time loops. I've spoken about it on the channel before, about how watching someone relive the same scenes and try for different outcomes over and over allows for an interesting, albeit greedy, twist on standard storytelling. Japan has a similar fascination with what-if scenarios. Just look at their love of visual novels with multiple branching stories, depending on what you choose to do and say. The popular Fire Emblem series of video games even dedicated a recent entry, aptly named Fire Emblem F in Japan, to this premise, with an early in-game choice splitting the title into 3 unique games, a move that worked brilliantly for its narrative, and undoubtedly lined Nintendo's pockets with a lot more money. Exploring every side to a story, of every avenue of a decision, isn't something Japan is alone in loving, of course. The excellent sliding doors showed how a tiny deviance, whether someone made a train or not, could split their life in wildly different directions, presenting those disparate timelines alongside each other for the duration of the movie. The wonderful video game Life is Strange allowed you to see the immediate impact of every decision you made, before committing to one for good. It's an exploitative but full-bodied approach to storytelling that we, as a species, have an infatuation with, because we all have moments in the past we wish we could go back and do over. I think it's the human nature of regret that makes us love the concept of time loops as much as we do.
よーいスタート
Fireworks is a film that plays with this familiar setup in great ways. It was originally a live-action movie directed by Shunji Iwai, a director I'll be covering in greater detail in the future thanks to his excellent Hannah and Alice movies. Fireworks was originally broadcast as part of a television series that featured different strange stories. Garnering enough acclaim, it broke out of this omnibus format and was released theatrically as a standalone piece, and now, 25 years later, it's received an anime adaptation. In both incarnations we're focused primarily on Nazuna, a girl on the cusp of adulthood who finds her life unfairly tugged by a fate she can't control. She's being pulled out of school and uprooted from her hometown to follow her mother as she moves across the country. We see this all through the eyes of Norimichi, a classmate who barely cares and can do little about it anyway, until the time loop kicks in and he's given a number of opportunities to explore his relationship with this girl he hardly knows. The anime is a ludicrously faithful adaptation, crafting what is essentially a shot-for-shot remake of the 1993 original for the majority of its runtime, taking the composition, dialogue and even musical cues from the original verbatim, so much so that I began to wonder why it needed to exist at all. Fireworks shows its hand about halfway in, however. Whilst the original presents a single do-over, where a random encounter ends slightly differently and causes the entire plot to be thrown off its axis, the anime takes the premise much further. At the point the original film ends and the credits roll, Fireworks asks a what-if of its own. What if the film doesn't end here? At a base level, Fireworks is a special little piece of cinema, full of atypical animation, with sly, fox-featured faces breathing a unique sense of life into each character, and it bounces along to a score that reminds me of Jerry Martin's fascinating instrumental work on The Sims. It's both beautiful and crass, realistic and unbelievable, and it balances its live-action roots with its newfound home in anime to form a strangely effective tale, one that ultimately earns the remake its reason for being. What began in 1993 as a fairly innocuous coming-of-age story about the fallibility of youth, the random nature of the universe, and, eventually, growing up and accepting fate, Fireworks swiftly takes its adventure into an almost sci-fi setting, where reality begins to distort around our leads, and provides a stark answer to all the what-ifs out there. Because there's an inherent grossness to the manipulative powers the leads of these films inevitably have control over. Indeed, whilst Nazuna's life was originally tied to the whims of her mother, in the anime adaptation she's suddenly shunted around at the hands of our lead and his own machinations. Fireworks skirts this issue by having Norimichi act in the service of Nazuna's own desires, but there's an underlying message that can't entirely shake this creepy principle.
Hold me like a friend, kiss me like a friend, say we'll never end.
Fireworks looks at the time loop trope and sees this obsession as unhealthy. If you focus on moments of your life that you can't change, and the possibilities behind a door that will never again be open, reality ceases to function as it should. It begins to fracture to the point where the fantasy world you're living in becomes a broken version of the timeline you left behind. What if, it posits, we start making the most of the timeline we find ourselves in? What if we stop asking, what if? As always, thanks for watching. Apologies for the delay in video releases. I've been in Japan for the last month, but now that I'm back I'll be resuming semi-frequent uploads. I've launched a Patreon to coincide with this video dropping, and I've placed a link to that in the description below. If you want to see more videos at a faster clip, or to get some cool bonuses, then consider donating. If not, you can still follow me on Twitter or subscribe to the channel to get notified every time I publish new content. If you want me to time travel back to the point where I started making videos about anime, and instead choose to focus on writing erotic literature, hit the like button and I'll try my best to start a time loop of my own.